Hello RC fans, Racing 393 for another video. And as you can see before you, we've got an Eclipse 6. Yes, oh yes, I've ordered an Eclipse 6. Even though I'm probably, going to get slander here because I haven't raced my Eclipse 4. I did in 2024. Now in 2025, and I plan to race the Eclipse 4. And I've been reading about the Eclipse 6 on various websites. So what I thought I'd do, get an Eclipse 6, build it up, and compare the two and actually race both of them. Now, I have been reading up on the Eclipse 6. It's been in development for quite a while. I mean, Schumacher Racing would have used the various technologies that they've learned in the car, developing the car. I think they've done it, don't quote me on this, it was last year, it may have been earlier, maybe. I missed out on the Eclipse 5 for no other reason than, apart from the extended front, like the front beam, the axle beam, if you like, is different, and the sort of the front part of the chassis extrudes a bit more than the 4. That's what I'm led to believe. I hadn't actually looked at it properly, but I was told this at the club meeting that I attended. And I thought, well, like anything, I've got to learn to drive the 4. There's no point upgrading really until you can drive. And I was a bit torn of whether to go this route or not. But I have decided. I've actually from the time of recording this video, I have purchased an Eclipse 6, and the order will be coming to me in a couple of days. Now, I've read quite a lot about the Eclipse 6, and I'd like to think I understand the main differences. So this is a little bit of a tutorial speaking part of the video. What I will do is, once I've got the Eclipse 6, we'll do a video series of building it up, box stock, if you like. The only thing at the time of this recording I haven't got is a speed controller. Now, I could take the one out of the 4. That would probably make sense, wouldn't it? But I'm going to get a different speed controller that's homologated for the BRCA racing. Not that I'm going to do any of that at the moment, but the club level is all I'm going to perhaps focus on to get better driving skills and better results, hopefully. So looking at this, there's quite a lot of differences. So I think the 5 and the 4, Eclipse 5, Eclipse 4, there's a lot of interchangeable parts, apart from the front, as I just discussed. There could be other bits that are different. If you know your LMP5s, you'll no doubt let me know. But there's a lot of differences between the 6 and the 4. It sort of skipped a generation, hasn't it? So I'm going to go through. I've got some notes up on my screen here. So if I look away, then it's only because I'm sort of reading my notes as well. So first and foremost, one of the biggest, and this is through pictures, you can probably see it on the picture on the screen there. It's got ultra smooth front suspension, allowing for better steering response, bump handling, and adjustability, because it's got a new hub carrier and kingpin assembly. So the main thing there, going on to point 2, on the Eclipse 4, the hub, was it plastic or metal? I think it was metal, wasn't it? Yeah, metal hub, or aluminum, and it just went up the steering pivot. Now, you could get upgraded steering pivots, which is where you put the oil. I think you got like titanium. I think were they brass when they were standard, and then you got, was it titanium kingpins, which I got on my Eclipse 4. But these hub carriers on the 6, they got PTFE filled bushes. So the actual hubs, they're a completely different shape, but inside they've got this, PTFE, which allows it to slide up and down much smoother. So from what I can gather, the front suspension on the Eclipse 4 was very, how can I say, it worked. Of course it worked. But I feel it could have worked better because it wasn't that responsive to change. The springs in there quite invariably got covered in fluff and dust and stuff over the oil, which would seep out anyway and cause a little bit of binding. I always found the back's fine, it's got the weight on it, because the front doesn't have as much weight. It didn't seem to respond. I mean, you could run softer springs, there was all that, but from my understanding is that this hub carrier and the bushes for the suspensions is much smoother. Another new feature is the damper sleeve. So the dampers on this car got the center damper and the two side dampers. From what I can gather here, the sleeve itself has got special surface coating to maximize the suspension improvements. So they're trying to make the car. I mean, one of the things I did wrong is run my car too low. So it would bottom out, or not intentionally, but it would bottom out, which the suspension on these cars isn't vast, but it's very sensitive. So you want the car at least at full compression. It doesn't want to hit the floor because it's going to take, the wheels would sort of come off the ground, don't they? It won't. There's no more movement, so it can't do anything. I think that was one of my problems. It seems that having that car balanced and sensitive to change is what they're trying to do. You should be able to effectively go around the track as fast as what the top guys do, with the suspension working away. Sensitivity will be really high, so little adjustments, and the tyres perfectly prepped in their case, perfect grip. That's what I'm looking at, which is probably what LMP is all about anyway, isn't it? So, so going back onto another new feature, which I did mention, enclosed spring design prevents suspension change maintenance from dirt and oil build up around the spring. So when you on the Eclipse 4, which I found out in a previous video, that the springs get all like crudded up. You take the little front springs off and they've got like bits all over them. I think it's pretty much the same as the GT12. They're exposed, aren't they? Exposed to the elements, tyre rubber, dust, hair, bits. It's going to get covered, isn't it? So it's got a new front spring set with wider range, more up travel, and increased droop control. Why can't I read? Yeah, droop. So the back is quite easily, you can measure the droop. I've always found that you can measure the front droop, if you know what you're doing. It's very, very slight though. So what I'm thinking there, maybe the spring range. So we all know that any suspension, you don't want it sat on top of the spring or compressed a lot. It's got to be halfway down. Well, I'll say that. It's got to be halfway down. It should be around halfway to allow up movement and down movement, because you're using the spring in that sort of sweet spot, if you like. That applies to any spring on any car, race car, road car, anything, with the exception of like karting, if you like, which has, I suppose a similar thing would be the tyre pressures. You're gonna have a very similar tyre pressure to allow a little bit of give, aren't you? But it is a completely different science in karting. So we're sort of digressing off there for some reason. Yeah, so the droop control at the front I think is really important. It's got here new front bumper mount with weight restrictions and durability improvements. 3-hole mounting designed to protect the chassis in large impacts, which does happen if I'm driving. I'm trying to think. Front bumper. I haven't got. I mean, look at the picture there. The picture's small. I'm looking at the screen, but Front bumper mount with weight restrictions. I suppose that's the bit that sticks out from. I think what I've looked at the picture, the bit that sticks out from the front axle beams actually is hollow. I say hollow. That's the wrong word. It's not a flat bit of carbon fibre. Would it be like flat? It's actually got a hole cut out in it for lightness. It's got a 3-hole mounting design, so it must be. We've got 3 holes as opposed to 2. Did the 4? I don't know about it. Did the 4 have 2? I'm not sure. But if it's got 3 mounts, it's going to be more substantial. Ready when I hit things. I try not to. It bugs me when I hit things, but it just happens, doesn't it? Right. New. I'm going to keep doing that because it's got bold new where I'm reading. Improved front geometry options with a new, that's not bold, optional wider track width front beam and camber strap options. So yeah, so the camber strap goes across the top, which moves cambers when the wheels move like that or like that. So that would be negative camber. If the wheels went that way, positive camber. You wouldn't really do that unless you're running on an oval, if you like, and you certainly wouldn't do it in these. Not to my knowledge, I wouldn't, but there you go. So it says a new optional wider track width front beam and camber straps options. I'm not sure that's written correctly. I can't even read it anyway. Yeah, so I guess the front can be set up differently to what the 4 is. I can understand that's a carry on over from the 5, which was a bit of an improvement over the 4, but to the 6 they've probably tweaked it a bit more, haven't they? This is another interesting one which I'm trying to work this out in my head. New rear hex wheel clamps with new 2-piece design, and it improves the concentricity, the round. So I'm thinking of that 2-piece design. I know what 2-piece design would be. It just say eliminating rear wheel run out issues and improved rear traction. That, if you know, you're going to let me know, but you'll see this video before you'll see me building the Eclipse 6. That would be a phone call to Schumacher if it was me. What does that mean? I know what concentricity means. That's how it goes round. The hex clamps with a new 2-piece design. 2-piece. So the ones that came on the other Eclipse 4 were just 1 piece with 1 bolt. I thought that would have been better. Is run out where it's not running smoothly? Because on the Eclipse 4 you got the bolts, and perhaps it could start oscillating weirdly. And if it does that, you're going to lose traction. Would that be what it means? We shall see. A spool axle, basically a solid axle with weight reductions. I didn't say new, did I? Well, it's obvious it's new because that's what I've been doing. And new, it's not bold, narrower traction width adjustment options. A new narrow traction width. A spool axle, it doesn't weigh much anyway, with weight reductions. I mean, it was carbon fibre. It wasn't plastic, was it? It was carbon or some solid plastic or carbon or a composite. But it's going to make it lighter. That would be interesting. Now, these next bits here haven't been highlighted as new, even though they should be. Now, this next bit, I found, for some reason, a right pain in the backside on the Eclipse 4. And it was the side spring adjustments, how you do it. That multi-beam that goes across at the back, I've gone through 2 of them because the inserts turn in that carbon fibre hole when I try to adjust it a little bit, makes it loose and it comes out. Now, I know those side springs, the actual screw is like, the grub screw is like really small, so you're only going to be moving it a minuscule. It's not like a platform on a race shock absorber where you can move it up and down like this much. But it says on here, side spring seat with lightweight one-piece design. That's interesting because it's got like an insert and then that coned bit that went inside, and then the grub screw inside that, and that little cone had like a little recess which the spring it didn't clip on it. Well, it did clip on it. It sort of pushed it up and sort of held itself on the recess. So when you turn the adjustment, it sort of turns the whole spring, but it moves the spring up and down very slightly. That's what it should do, and it does do it. But I've wrecked 2 of them by, I don't know, maybe something I'm doing wrong. It doesn't seem like other people may have said this to me when I was racing at the club level, at Wickham, but that to me seems like a good move. It's going to be different. So it's a one-piece design allowing for reduced side spring preload settings and easier assembly. It's a real fiddly thing. If those springs come out, trying to get them back in under that sort of multi-beam, there must be a way, but my banana fingers just don't work like that. So that to me seems that it's worth it on that alone. New updated side damper inner rods to prevent excessive oil capacity and leaking. They do leak on the ends, I found, on the 4, and having to rebuild them and making sure that you had no oil everywhere. I think that was, to me, that was a bit of an annoying job to do because it's just, I did find, I did also try not to put as much oil in them, but it always seemed to seep out. So when you do the rods, the pistons that go in and out at the end, I always found there was more excessive oil than there should be. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of oil there, but then you get buff. That's fluff and bits. Fluff and bits all over it, and hair. Don't forget the hair. Right, new. This bit's interesting, so and probably very important as opposed to, and I must admit, I'm not lost on this bit, but I perhaps don't understand the rear pod as much as I should. But this, the Eclipse 6, updated rear pod assembly with a lighter design, easier droop measuring, wasn't that bad on the 4 to be honest, and a 0.75mm adjustment pod offset. I kind of get it, but can't picture what it actually means on the car, so it matches modern motor designs and alleviates imbalanced handling. So does it put the motor more middle at the back? Because it's always a little bit over one side, isn't it? But I thought that was normal. I kind of understand it, but I need to see it. If you've built one of these already, you're probably going to know exactly what that is. There's some other bits on here. So these ain't new, but it should be. So it's got servo mounting has been improved, resulting in direct mounting for the Samoa micro range of servos, such as the PGS HR and the SRG HR. I think in my Eclipse 4, I've got the Samoa PGS, and I think I did get a mounting for that. But I've got another servo for this 6. It's not Samoa. I don't think it is anyway. I got it from Schumacher, but it's not here yet, but I'll have to wait and see. Direct and easy alignment on the centre of the car. In doing this, the chassis flexibility characteristics have been vastly improved for performance and strength by removing the large off-centre transverse slots previously used in the chassis, I'm guessing that is. All other brands of servo can still be used with the ultra lightweight floating servo mount, which is included. I think, have I got that in my car? Yeah, I understand what that means. I don't know if I even went that route on the Eclipse 4, but I guess it kind of frees up. It puts the servo more central, and it's sort of so that the chassis doesn't get bound up on the fixing points of the servo. amongst other things. Lightweight and flexible 3D printed rubber bumper. So I've got one of those on my 4. They're the ones with the honeycomb holes in it. Better than the foam. Well, actually, the Eclipse 4 came with the foam, which worked, but I put the Eclipse 5 front bumper on mine. It was just it looked better in my opinion, and because I did break it. Oh, I did split it on one impact, but it's fine. That works well. This one. See, one of these doesn't really mean a lot to me. I mean, I can't see the point, but the other bit does. Black aluminium steering turnbuckles are now included. Stealth and lighter weight. Well, the stealth bit, because they're black, personally, does it matter? No, because you can't see it anyway. It's under the shell. Lighter weight, yes, that would be a good move. So, all good, I suppose. It is improving. Super easy. I'll be the judge of that if it's super easy, no me. Slide in speed secret height spacers, 0.5mm and 0.75mm. So speed secret. So does it say rear? Just says right height spacers. They must be the ones that go into the rear axle. Am I right in saying that? Or is that going to be the slide in? Is that the ones that go on the front? I'll have to see. I'm not sure which ones they're talking about there. Tweak free and easy lipo mounting using a new lighter weight O-ring fixing. Okay. Good. Well, it must be. So tweak free and easy lipo mounting. Interchangeable front line post position stops with 4 equally spaced settings included. That's like the T-piece where the lipo goes back and forth. That's on the 4, isn't it? That's the same. This bit is interesting. So underside variable chassis chamfers, offering improved ground clearance, smoother scrubbing, and better clearance to curbs and corner markers. A chassis chamfer. Well, it must. Does it mean the chassis is not dead flat? It's got little up kicks on it. Is that what that means? This seems different. I don't know. Big bore side and center dampers. So they must be bigger. And that sounds obvious than what they're probably comparing it to the 5, but I'm comparing it to the 4. Where was I reading? Oh, there we are. They also give greater dampening, oil retention, less frequent maintenance required, and read it properly, and a compact and central design. Damper geometry changes have improved damping characteristics. Well, there is that oil, that Core RC that Schumacher sell. I've ordered that as well. I think it comes in light, medium, and hard, or something like that. Specifically designed for the Eclipse 6. I can't vouch for them yet because they're not in stock with the place I've ordered it, but they will send them. Lightweight pod assembly for smoother, more predictable drivability and bump handling, strengthened for tweak prevention. I must admit, I have to look into the tweaking because I'm not sure if mine's had some wax, the 4, so I will have to check that. I've sort of looked at a few videos on tweak, on how the chassis can tweak without realising that it's done so. So it does require you to strip it down, which is probably why I haven't done it. Lightweight, low centre of gravity, CNC alloy motor mounts. Pretty much, is that what was in the 4 anyway? Pretty much, I think. Right height this is what I was thinking of. Rear right height adjusters. Easier adjustment and 0.25 height increments. So that's pretty much like the 4, isn't it? Where you just pop out and pop them in. Front beam socket using O-ring fixing system. I'm pretty sure that's the same. Thread insert design, making working on the car much quicker and simpler. A thread insert. That's fine if it's what I think it is. But that's one of the problems I had with mucking up the side springs on the Eclipse 4. I haven't got a 5. The 4. Those inserts can be quite tricky if they're if it's what I'm thinking it is, the brass inserts. Easy body shell height adjustment. That's one thing I haven't looked into. Mine's fixed where I put those little T pieces, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it should have been easy and I just made it more difficult. Extra low rear roll center pivot height for awesome rear traction. Well, yep, I understand that. I don't think my car did. Center pivot design for easy build and maintenance with a fully bind-free design. That's what I've got on the Eclipse 4. That center pivot, which you can adjust. I had it too tight. I went to the BRCA race like a couple of years ago now, whatever, and I had that really tight, so the back pod was sort of like, but I didn't know, did I? I didn't know what I was doing. Perfectly balanced rear pod assembly. Well, that's mentioned in the new bits at the top. Ultra low motor position. Yeah, well, I think they can't get much lower. They stick out underneath, don't they, a little bit? A full range of colour-coded rear and side springs. So I'm hoping the springs are or maybe they're not. Maybe they're different springs. I've got all the sets for the 4, but they do say that to run this straight out the box. Even Schumacher say that. Unless you're sort of travelling all around the world with different tracks and, like different countries and different grip levels, different carpet, that kind of thing. Separate springs for independent roll and bump stiffness adjustment. Separate springs. Is that the bit at the back? Ball bearings, yeah, well that comes normal. Adjustable toe in, toe out, yes. Chassis balance pivot holes for use with this precision set available separately and optimizes left and right weight distribution. I think that's an upgrade I did on the 4, and I'll probably have to get it for this. It's got the part number there, so I'm going to have to look into that like in a minute. Rear tweak adjustment via side springs. Well, that's normal. Simple rear droop adjustment. Well, that's been improved. Comes with a servo saver. That's standard. Normal high tensile steel hex screws. Structure manual. Body shells. Blah, 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 blah. So there we have it. The bit at the end is just about like radio and radio gear. So that is a quick overview of the Eclipse 6 and comparing what I know and to the best of my knowledge, which is limited, to the Eclipse 4. So keep an eye out for when the video comes out. Now the build video, I'm not going to keep it that long because there's loads out there already. I may show you bits and pieces close up, the new bits that I find interesting because they're different to the 4. And then once we've built it up, I've already got a body shell, I've already got a motor, a servo, tyres, and then we can get it out. Well, we will soon get it out racing on the track at my local indoor carpet track at Wickham. I'm trying to make time around my life to fit that in. But a video coming up soon will be me going out and trying out again my LMP. It's not an LMP4. Let's not get carried away. My LMP12 Eclipse 4 with its new body shell and different stiffer wheels, different compound tyres, there's a previous video about that anyway. I'll get back into the swing of it and see how we go. And then we can perhaps get a little more feel for this car. So once I've been out with my Eclipse 4 and got back into the swing of racing and the feel, I can then, when I use the Eclipse 6, I should notice a slight difference. That's what I'm planning to do. So that's going to be upcoming in a video soon. Yeah, so if you'd like to see a bit more racing with the Eclipse 6 and my Eclipse 4, then please, why not consider a subscription to my channel and hit that little notification bell to be notified of when this content becomes available. And all feedback and advice is greatly received, and any feedback that I can give, I'm willing to share anything I have that may be of use to any new drivers out there or existing drivers. Maybe, two minds are better than just the one, aren't they? So I shall see you in the next Eclipse 6 build video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.